afternoon. This is Maintaining Movement Momentum, a focused evaluation of the Billy Graham Crusades. The Billy Graham Crusades were a movement that mattered. These crusades changed the history of our nation, and they impacted millions of lives by proclaiming the gospel to them. So I wanted to evaluate them with this question: how did the Billy Graham Crusades build and maintain momentum? And I did this through applying the Yale Developmental Theory. This theory has 5 main steps. Step 1 is to define identity. Step 2, establish legitimacy. Step 3, create participation. Step 4, achieve penetration. And step 5, become an institution. By applying this theory to my research, I developed 4 primary ways the Billy Graham Crusades made an impact and maintained their momentum. The first is that they had a very strong identity. Their identity was found, number 1, in Christ, but their leader was the one that promoted this. Their leader, Billy Graham, was known as the best evangelist to ever live. He personally shared the gospel with over 215 million lives. The Crusades went across 185 countries, and in 1973 in Seoul, South Korea, for one event, they had their largest crowd of 3.2 million people. This was a leader that people weren't forced to follow, they flocked to follow. And the second point for this is that they had a message of hope in a time of chaos. And this time in our nation's history, we were going through the Vietnam War. The civil rights movement was very heated, and also the Watergate scandal made our trust in government very, very low. So trust was hard to earn, and the Billy Graham Crusades created a movement of hope and peace in a time of chaos. The second way that they did this is through high credibility. And this started with their leader's credibility. Not only was he very highly educated, but he was a talented man and a very good speaker with a lot of charisma. And this document that we see was actually a poster from one of the Crusades. It was his first crusade in Los Angeles. And this crusade was supposed to last 3 weeks, but it ended up lasting 8 weeks because the people begged him to continue speaking and proclaiming the gospel. The second way that they did this is they knew the importance of forming the right allies. And the allies that they specifically formed were the local leaders of the cities that they would enter. Listen to this quote: "No crusade took place unless Christian leaders in a city extended an invitation to the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. Each one was planned far in advance through partnerships with numerous local churches." They knew that to truly make an impact in these cities, they were going to have the credibility of the local leaders at the time. And the results showed. They had 417 crusades in total, and most of them had crowds that far exceeded 100,000 in attendance. I had this tree as the picture because each thing that they did to build their credibility made them harder and harder to push down. The third way that they maintained momentum was they encouraged participation. In the study of customer relations, a question that most customers are asking is, what's in it for me? If they're going to have an investment, they want to know what they're going to get back. And why would you go to just an encouraging message when you're attending church every single Sunday? I believe that there are 3 ways that the Billy Graham Crusades answered what's in it for me during this generation. Number 1, they empowered the believers. Yes, going to church was common, but there was a generation rising up that did not want to follow the faith of their parents, and this made believers really scared. So what encouraged them? Well, look no further than the Billy Graham Crusade when you're surrounded by hundreds of thousands of other people pursuing the same God. Number 2, it offered a personal retreat from the harsh realities of life. The Crusades were strategically placed in cities with a lot of crime. Life is not always easy, but the Crusades offered a moment throughout the week that a person can go and be at peace. And then finally, it gave them an opportunity to join something that was bigger than themselves. And this is vital for the human race. A quote from Culture University says this: "Think how concert goers act as one, connecting with hundreds of people they've never met, creating a force far bigger than they could achieve by themselves. By association, they feel they're a piece of something more significant than they could ever be alone. When this happens, people get a feeling that they are as big as the effort is. This feeling affords a sense of substance, importance, pride, and direction. The Crusades gave believers and unbelievers something to be proud to be a part of, to associate themselves with, and this created a machine that ultimately began to feed itself, because the more people joined in, the more people wanted to join in. The fourth and final way was the lasting impact of the Crusades. According to the Billy Graham Library, a typical Billy Graham crusade involved 50 local leaders, 100 volunteer staff members, 10,000 prayer group members, 3,000 volunteer counselors, 4,000 choir members, 1,000 ushers, and between 500 and 1,200 local churches. They knew that if they wanted to take this emotional night and change it into a life change, they were going to have to get people out of the rows and into local churches. And they did this by passing the baton and involving the local churches of the area. One way that I actually believe the Crusades failed is their ability to establish something that would outlast Billy Graham's time. Their permanence was greatly questionable, though the Billy Graham Evangelical Association still exists, where they used to be able to easily pull in 100,000. Now they're struggling to get 10,000. And I believe personally that this is because Billy Graham did not do a good job raising up his son to have the same status that he did. I think he should have given his son a lot more opportunities to speak while he was in the height of his career. In conclusion, what's the answer to the proposed question? How did they do it? How did they maintain their momentum? I believe there are 4 ways. Strong identity, high credibility, they encouraged participation, and they had lasting impact through including the local churches. Apply these principles, and you will be able to build and maintain momentum for your endeavors in life. Thank you.